Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
All right, thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Tate, and today we're going to kick things off by talking about the NBA free agency, which is only just 6 days away. Now, when you start looking at the teams that are actually can sign free agencies or teams that have the most money, when you're starting to look at the salary cap, I kind of, just to bring everyone up to speed, I brought up the top 6 NBA franchises by available money. Now, the number one franchise with the absolute most money is the franchise that everyone's been hearing about for the last couple of months. That is the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks has $70 million, which gives them plenty of room to sign 2 max players. Now, there's been a lot of teams that has been kind of associated with the Knicks. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, but they do have the money. Lately, it sounds like New York is starting to get shown up by another franchise in New York, the Brooklyn Nets, which we'll talk about on this list next. The Brooklyn Nets are the second franchise, just a little bit behind the Knicks, with $69 million. And from everything that we are hearing, Kyrie Irving is leaning heavily toward going to the Brooklyn Nets. Also, Kevin Durant has been linked to going to the Brooklyn Nets. So they definitely have the money with $69 million and available cap space to sign both of those guys. We'll touch on a little bit more later on about where I think they're going to end up. The number 3 franchise is the second city in Los Angeles. That is the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers have $55 million in cap space, which gives them that ability to come on and bring on a Kawhi Leonard, which has been really linked to the Clippers, along with maybe a Kyrie Irving or a Jimmy Butler or even a Kevin Durant. They have the money to bring on 2 max players. Another team that we haven't heard much about is actually the Indiana Pacers, which actually have room for a max player. Really hasn't been much talk about the Pacers and bringing on a max player, but they definitely do have that spot. An interesting one is the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks has about $26 million in cap space, and right now it doesn't seem like their big free agent is Kristaps Porzingis, but it doesn't seem like there's a big rush to go out and sign Porzingis. And part of that is because of the injuries that he has suffered. But when you look at the Dallas Mavericks and what they have going on there, it would be crazy for them not to bring back Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn that is. The next team up with the most amount of salary cap space is the team that it seems like the sky is falling. They've had 3 guys that are already planning on leaving. When you refer to Kyrie Irving and Al Horford, it's the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics have $25 million in cap space. That cap space was supposed to be used for Kyrie Irving, but now when you look at what they have lost, they didn't get anywhere in free agency. They had plans on this spectacular draft with all their draft picks, but the lottery balls did not go their way. And now you have a situation where the Celtics, who has this young core, is kind of in a kind of rebuilding phase. There's no major free agents that are even talking about going to the Celtics. Now, they could bring on some mid-tier free agents, with traditionally being the Celtics are not a traditional free agent landing spot. So when you start thinking about them, other than bringing in Kevin Durant, not Kevin Durant, but Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, which were kind of sweetheart deals from Kevin McHale, a former Celtic, there has not been a major free agent signing by the Celtics. And when you start looking around and you start hearing what's coming out of some of the camps for the top free agents, not one free agent has talked about going to the Boston Celtics. As a matter of fact, free agents are jumping off the ship. It feels it's the sinking ship that everyone's starting to jump off of, and it is not looking good. Looks like the Celtics are going to be definitely doing a rebuilding. Next up at $24 million is the Chicago Bulls. I don't really see them as a factor in the free agent, the free agent scrum to go and bring on a big franchise player. Don't really see much coming from them except for maybe a couple of minor moves. So they're not really in the free agent picture. But this next team is the one that you have to watch out for. And this is the team that is actually favored by Vegas to win the NBA championship next year. And that is the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers right now with about $20 million, possibly with dumping some salary from a couple of the ancillary players that they have, may be able to clear up about $30 million, which is what they're going to need if they're going to bring on one of the top free agents. And then the last team, the 10th team, is the Atlanta Hawks, which right now they're an up and coming team, hoping to break into the playoffs and build upon that. Right now, they are definitely not in the free agent picture. So, but that is your top teams. Once again, that is the Knicks, the Nets, the Clippers, the Pacers, the Pelicans, the Mavericks, the Celtics, the Bulls, the Lakers, and the Hawks. And I kind of skipped over the Pelicans. The Pelicans with Zion, they have $31 million, so they do have room to bring on a franchise max player, but the Pelicans are building, and they have a very strong core. I don't see them getting into the free agent frenzy. So even though I kind of skipped them, they're not really in that picture. So now when we start looking at where are some of the top free agents going to go, you have to initially start talking about the biggest two free agents you can that's out there. And that would be Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant. Now, Kawhi Leonard has been linked to so many teams. When you start looking at that, he's going to actually consider and have meetings with Toronto. He's going to meet with the Clippers. He's meeting with the Lakers, the Philadelphia 76ers, the New York Knicks, and the Brooklyn Nets. So Kawhi Leonard is going on his recruitment tour. He's going to meet with everyone, and he is the wild card of this entire free agency because no one really knows where he's going to go. Now, if I'm him, I'm telling you what I would do. And if he has good advisors, I think the best move for him is to stay in Toronto. Toronto is the best place for him, and here's the reason why. Number one, he has always been kind of a low-key guy, even though I know he's from Southern California. He has been known to be kind of very quiet. He's already a megastar in the United States. He's already a megastar in Canada. He has an entire country that loves him. He has the United States where his star has just gone through the roof. So by staying in Toronto, he gets that extra year. He can get a 5-year contract, but then he also has the ability to draw for the rest of his rest of his life. He'll be able to go and be a mega star even after his career is over in Canada. He can only bolster that reputation and the love that the country of Canada has for him and the city of Toronto has for him. He's still going to be a star in the United States. I think it's the perfect fit. And I think he's going to take that when he steps back and takes a look at the fact that he can make the most money in Toronto, and that is on the court and off the court, because he has endorsement dollars that are going to be coming in from Canada for years and years to come. He has his New Balance deal, and there's a lot more advertising and things coming off of another MVP appearance. He is set. I think he's going to stay in Canada at Toronto. I think it's the best move. If he doesn't go there, then it's kind of interesting. There's been a lot of talk about him going to the Clippers. I don't think he's going to the Clippers unless he goes with someone else. If he partners up with Durant or Kyrie Irving or someone like that, then I could see him going to the Clippers. I would love to see him partner up with Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and go to Los Angeles. Think about the possibility of seeing Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. You have your franchise of the future. You have your current franchise of the present. And that's a situation where you could literally see that group, that trio right there, mixing in a Kyle Kuzma on top of that. That's a team that could actually do something that Golden State couldn't do, and that's a team that could three-peat. Now, when you start thinking about Golden State, the next biggest free agent is Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant, coming off of a blown-out Achilles, which has been quite documented, unfortunate situation, it's already been known that he is going to miss the 2019-2020 season. So it just comes down to, where is he going to rehab? Is he going to rehab in the Bay Area with Golden State? Is he going to go to Brooklyn? Is he going to go to New York? Or is he going to go to the Clippers? Or I doubt if it's going to be the Lakers. really, I feel like when it comes to Kevin Durant, it's a 3-team race: the Knicks, the Nets, and Golden State. And if I was given my recommendation, I would tell him to stay in Golden State. And I still feel like one of two things is going to happen. Either he's going to stay in Golden State, in which he can get that extra year, where he can rehab a year and still have 4 years on his contract, or there's going to be a situation where there's a sign and trade clause here, where he signs for the full max, but then gets traded to New York or to Brooklyn. That's kind of where I see it going when I start thinking about him. But when I look at what they could do by taking a little time off, him taking some time off, you look at what's going on when you start thinking about Klay Thompson. He's going to be pretty much out the rest of the next year. So you could have a situation in Golden State where if you re-sign Durant, you re-sign Klay, you both have both of those guys set out for the rest of the year. You put Steph Curry on a a kind of a load management kind of schedule, where kind of like what the Raptors did with Kawhi Leonard, where he doesn't play in about 20 or so games, so that he is fresh for next year. You bring in a number of younger players and get a little bit younger as Golden State, but give them some playing time so that when the new team gets back together, or the old team gets back together for the 2021 season, then you have a much younger team that has been playing all year, and then you have your core group of superstars, which consist of Durant, Klay, and Steph. I think that would be the perfect situation for the Golden State Warriors, and I also think it's a perfect situation for Klay, who is a free agent, and Kevin Durant. Now, there has been no really linking Klay anywhere except for with Golden State. There is some talk if Klay does not get offered the max deal, then he would open up the doors to possibly looking at the Lakers or some other team. But as long as he gets offered the max, he is going to stay in Golden State. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go down the list of the other free agents that are still on the list here and kind of where we think they're going to go. Stay tuned, and we will be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, we're back, and in the last segment, we were just talking about what teams have the most salary available, which the top 3 teams that have the most salary available is the Knicks, the Nets, and the Clippers. All 3 of these teams have the ability to sign 2 max free agents. And then the team with that's in the mix that has the lowest would be right now would be the Lakers with $20 million, but with the possibility with some adjustment to be as much as $30 million. We talked about where we thought Kevin Durant was going to go, and we talked a little bit about Klay Thompson, and we also talked about Kawhi Leonard. Now, the next person we're going to talk about on this list is a person that he kind of is going to be in a holding pattern, I feel like. And that is Kyrie Irving. The reason why I say he's going to be in a holding pattern is I feel like Brooklyn and the Knicks are not going to make a move until after they figure out where Kevin Durant goes. I think Kyrie Irving is either connected to either Kevin Durant or LeBron James. And so I think that really puts him in a situation where he has to be patient. There's a lot of talking about the fact that he is really focusing on going to Brooklyn. Still interested in playing for New York, but right now it sounds like the top two landing locations for Kyrie Irving, there's 3 spots, Brooklyn, New York, and Los Angeles, but the top 2 spots is Brooklyn, going there with Kevin Durant, or going to the Lakers and teaming back up with LeBron James. I personally think that he is going to go to Brooklyn, even though I think the best fit for him is to re-up with LeBron James. They've won a championship. These guys, he's already experienced having his own team and how it did not turn out the way he had hoped. In Boston, he can get a kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card, a do-over, and actually go and play with the guy that he won championships with, that won a championship with. And that would be to partner up and go to Los Angeles and partner up with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I think that's a smart move, but I don't think that's the direction he's going to go. I think he's going to go to the Brooklyn Nets. We've talked about Klay and where he's going to go. The next free agent is Kemba Walker. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Kemba, Charlotte is going to want you to give them a sweetheart deal. They're going to want you to take a pay cut. And if I'm Kemba, there is no way I'm taking a pay cut to stay in Charlotte. There's just absolutely no way. I think the best place for Kemba, there's Charlotte, and then also the Lakers are kind of where they've been looking at. But if Kemba partners up with Kevin Durant, I think that's a good move. If he goes anywhere that Kevin Durant goes, I think they can play well together. I think Kemba can match up well and go somewhere with Kawhi Leonard. He also could play well with LeBron James. The one place I don't go back to Charlotte. They're already trying to cut salary. I just don't see that as a good fit. I'm not doing that one. Next one is Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy Butler has been linked to a number of teams. So he's been linked to Philadelphia. He's been linked to the Brooklyn Nets. He's been linked to the Lakers. He's been linked to the Knicks. He's been linked to the Nets. He's been even linked to the Houston Rockets. The Rockets, it'll be interesting, but I just don't see. The only way you can end up, I see Jimmy Butler going to the Rockets is if there was some type of trade, a sign and trade kind of a situation. I personally think Jimmy Butler is going to stay in Philadelphia. that's Philadelphia's primary focus, is making sure Jimmy Butler comes back. I think it's the best fit for him. Maybe the Lakers would be a good fit for him as well. But I see him staying in Philadelphia. Another Philadelphia player that could be very interesting is Tobias Harris as well, who is a free agent. Right now with Philadelphia, their number one priority is to make sure Jimmy Butler is taken care of. After that, then it's Tobias Harris. Both of those guys I could totally see going back, but if there was only going to be one, I think Jimmy Butler would be the most likely one to go back. If Tobias Harris leaves, then Utah, Sacramento, and the Indiana Pacers have all shown interest in bringing on Tobias Harris. When you look at Tobias Harris and you compare him to Jimmy Butler, their numbers are pretty close to the same. There's a little bit more of an upside offensively with Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. But the big difference is, and why Jimmy Butler is so valuable, is the fact that he does it on both ends of the court. Jimmy Butler can shoot a three, he can drive to the hole, and then he can also D up any team's best player all night. So when you start looking at a player like that, bringing him to a place like the Lakers or the Clippers, Jimmy Butler can fit in almost anywhere. The one problem with Jimmy Butler is attitude. Jimmy Butler does not play well with others. He's the guy. If you're not doing what he thinks you're supposed to do, he's going to let you know. And if you got a coach that's trying to put in discipline and you're trying to tell him what he can and cannot do, you have a problem. That's the big drawback with Jimmy Butler, is that very short fuse. If you're a coach that can work with the ego of Jimmy Butler, then he would be a good fit. He's a good fit on the 76ers, where it's a much younger team, and he helps those guys stay on track. But Jimmy Butler will be a valuable free agent, and he will, I'm going to say, will stay in Philadelphia. Tobias Harris, I still don't quite know what Tobias Harris is going to say. For right now, I'm going to say we're going to still keep trusting in the process, and I'm going to have Tobias Harris stay there, because if the 76ers loses Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris, the whole trusted process is over, and they are in an instant retooling. I'm not going to say rebuild, but it is going to be a definite retooling of a situation there. So it is really important that they bring Jimmy Butler back and Tobias Harris, but they have to bring at least one of those guys back, because you would have absolutely no shooting, and that would start a complete retooling of the 76ers. Now, when you start thinking about other free agents that may not be as well known, but free agents that I think are going to be very valuable, D'Angelo Russell is that free agent. Currently with the Nets, has been linked to the Lakers. I like him as a better fit with Anthony Davis and LeBron James than I think Kyrie Irving. Younger, just as athletic, has a relationship with the Lakers, didn't want to leave Magic Johnson. It was Magic Johnson's decision to trade him away. It was more about clearing up salary cap space to get LeBron, but also because it was kind of a crazy situation with Nick Young. That was kind of a bad kind of relationship situation there. So he got traded away. From all reports, he is definitely very open to coming back and playing in Los Angeles. And think about it. Why wouldn't you be willing to come back to Los Angeles? Great experience. playing for the Lakers is just worth so much. So I could totally see him coming back to the Lakers. That is a possibility. Don't be shocked if Kyrie Irving doesn't go to the Lakers, that a guy like D'Angelo Russell will go. Another guy that I'm going to tell you, I'm going to link to the Lakers, not a major free agent, but I think he's a viable free agent. And not Steph Curry, but Seth Curry. Steph Curry's brother. Last year played for Portland. They need a point guard. They need a guy. The Lakers need shooting, inexpensive shooting, and Seth Curry would be that perfect fit. He's a free agent. He's that inexpensive contract that the Lakers need to fill out a roster. That's after they go and figure out what they're going to do with that, with the 20 to 30 million that they have. Now, I'm going to mention a couple of dark horses that no one is even talking about at all, and I just don't understand why they're not talking. The rest of the shows are not talking about these guys. There's 3 guys that I look at and I say, these guys can really change your franchise. The first one is DeMarcus Cousins. Right now with Golden State, if Durant leaves, there's a very good chance he's going to stay in Golden State. But if Durant stays, I think DeMarcus Cousins is going to have to find a new home. And I think right now, DeMarcus Cousins, who's coming off of an Achilles injury, which traditionally takes 2 years to get back on track. He's had 1 year. He's looked good. He's been a little bit out of shape. Had some other injuries, but I'm going to tell you this: for the value of what you can get for him, I'm going to tell you that DeMarcus Cousins would be the perfect guy to bring on, and I'm going to tell you that I think the perfect place for him to land is the Los Angeles Lakers. Fantastic relationship with Anthony Davis, proven they can work together. LeBron James can work well with him. He can get his own shot. He can shoot the 3. He's a big man. Maybe not the most athletic, but he is a double-double waiting to happen, and I think he would be the perfect fit in Los Angeles. Another one, as I've mentioned before, is Kristaps Porzingis. Not sure what's going on there in Dallas. Dallas hasn't really mentioned much about if they're going to bring him back or not. The unicorn is worth it. Yes, he's had a lot of injuries. I think a lot of that also comes from the fact that he didn't really rush back to play in New York. I think he is a steal. If there's anyone, when you start looking at where certain players are going to go, DeMarcus Cousins and Kristaps Porzingis could literally change a franchise. You look at a situation where the Clippers bring in a Porzingis, the Lakers bring in a Porzingis. Let's say Brooklyn brings in Porzingis. There's a lot of places this guy can fit. He fits very well with the Lakers because he's a big man that can shoot. He can do it all. This is a perfect fit. I don't understand why he hasn't been brought up more. He is a must sign, in my opinion, here. Now, that covers my dark horses. With that, we're going to take another break. We'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, we're back. And now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about New York and how there's a lot of teams, there's a lot of players out there, that are excited and want to go to New York. Kyrie Irving has been linked to New York. Kevin Durant are linked to New York. These are the two big guys that I consistently hear are linked to New York. But there's two stories that came out today that shows me that New York is not the place for these two guys. The first one deals with the New York Mets, where manager Mickey Callaway and pitcher Jason Vargas, after their press conference, after coming off of another loss, the Mets had another loss, which is a shocker. The manager and the pitcher got very upset. Ended up because the New York media and the reporter was asking some very hard-hitting, imposing questions. The manager and the pitcher got very upset. After the press conference was over, it was a profanity-laced tyrant fired at the reporter, and Vargas even threatened to knock him out. To knock out a reporter. So you're actually going to lay hands and knock out a reporter. So you had that issue. Then you also had an issue where Odell Beckham Jr. talked about his time in New York. And when you look at his quote, it says, "I just felt with the Giants, I was just stuck in a place that wasn't working for me anymore. I felt like I wasn't going to be able to reach my full potential there mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. I felt capable of doing." Now, when you look at that and you listen to what he's saying, when you start looking at everything that he's saying here, it's pretty much he's saying that New York, it just became so much pressure, whether it was on the field or off the field. He couldn't go anywhere. There was talk of in another interview where he talked about he felt like an animal in a cage or something, where no matter where he went, it was a spectacle. Everyone was looking at him. Reporters are always hitting you with questions. Fans are always hitting you with, you haven't done enough. Fans want more, more, more. Organization wants more, more, more. The ancillary things, not the football things, started to get in the way of Odell Beckham Jr. being Odell Beckham Jr. And the most important part was his play on the field. He felt like, when you look at this quote and you look at what he's talking about he feels like his potential could be even higher, because now all the craziness that comes with New York, the media inquiries, the questions, if someone's following you, he doesn't have that anymore. It's a much smaller place. You don't have TMZ on your back at 24/7. You still have a little bit of that in Cleveland, but not like you would in New York or Los Angeles. So it gives him that freedom to actually relax and maybe reach his full potential. That's kind of what he was going at. And it made me start thinking about Kevin Durant. And it also made me think about Kyrie Irving. Two guys who have potential, all-world potential. But the biggest issue that they have is that both can be very sensitive, from Kevin Durant and his burner accounts to Kyrie Irving and his, let's say, he gets a little emotional sometimes. And so when you start thinking about that, being hounded by the New York media, both of these guys are linked to going to New York, whether it's Brooklyn or the Knicks. these two articles, what Odell Beckham's talking about, the fact that the pitcher and the manager's ready to fight a reporter, these are all reasons why I personally think New York is the absolute worst place possible for Kevin Durant, and it's absolutely the worst place possible for a guy like Kyrie Irving. This is the reason why I personally think that Durant should stay in Golden State, and the Lakers. And yes, I know when you're saying LA is just as bad as New York. The big difference is you have a guy by the name of King James, LeBron James, who can deflect a lot of that attention. It gives Kyrie Irving the ability to just go there and ball out. But with the ability to, in a few years, 3 to 4 more years, this is your team. It's your team and Anthony Davis. This is why I personally think Kyrie should go to the Lakers, because he can go back, win a championship with LeBron, but still have the ability in a few years that the Lakers are still his team. Anthony Davis is not that big, imposing of a personality. I think they would work well together. I think that's the best fit. And then with Kevin Durant, like I said before, when you start looking at the fact that you're dealing with a knee injury, not a knee injury, forgive me, an Achilles injury, which is a 2-year injury, 1 year where you're 100% out, and the next year you're not quite where you need to be, taking that 5-year deal and going to Golden State where the media is a lot more friendlier, by the time you get to your second year after this and you're back on top, all will be forgiven. Everyone will love you. But when you're in New York, you come back and you come back too early, they're going to treat you rough. There's always going to be a million questions. When are you coming back? When are you coming back? That's the reason why he already came back in the NBA Finals because of pressure. Now imagine the pressure that Kevin Durant's going to get on. We can't wait to get you back on the court. Media constantly asking, when are you going to come back? That's a recipe for disaster. I personally think Kevin Durant should stay away. With that, we are going to call it a night. You have been listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Tate, and to all, have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.